Hello, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. Today, after all, is going to be the European day of our broadcast. We've got a number of games coming out to you, 3 exactly, the first of which will be Leftovers versus Dignitas.
As we get into the grind here, it's going to be pretty interesting. Paradigm going to be taking on Cringe Crew after that. And we're going to close out the day with Fnatic taking on Hungry for More. Hungry for More trying to find themselves with 4 wins this week to catapult themselves into a 10-10 record.
Honestly, this is an important day for all of the teams playing out.
I feel like we're going to say that for like the remaining weeks, just because of how close the competition has been.
It is definitely very close. The teams have battled up and down, left and right to see who goes up on top. Panthera actually is on top, and nobody's really battling for that at the moment. 17, they have 8 more wins than anybody else, but CC, Paradigm, and Dignitas are really battling.
I mean, look at this, right? Between Cringe Crew and Fnatic, 2nd and 9th, the teams are separated by 4 wins. Now, you look at Panthera, they have 8 wins above the rest of the pack right now. You can see right in the middle, though, Dignitas and Leftovers at 4 and 5, trying to close the gap onto Cringe Crew and Paradigm and get into that dream hack spot.
And as we said before, number 6, Hungry for More, they're really surging forward. Their play has been really phenomenal. I broke it down on first period last week, really just week by week by week by week.
Was it first period or really?
How these teams have just how this team has just completely each week taken a step forward. And now as we come into this one, really looking to surge forward with a couple of more wins as well. Dignitas versus Leftovers, however, this is sort of a situation where Dignitas, I think that they are definitely a contender for DreamHack.
For sure.
And this matchup here, they've got a 2-0 if they want to go to Sweden.
Yeah, Leftovers are close in the standings right now. However, I think they're a little bit of a weaker team. I think they're going to start dropping some games here. They've made a role swap, however. Cherryo is now back in the jungle, which is where he was when he was on London Conspiracy last year. However, this swap I feel is honestly limiting him. I think Cherryo, the play I've seen from him so far, it was the best individually on Leftovers squad in the mid lane, and I think he's limiting himself. But we'll have to see if he can bring that same powerhouse mid laner or mid presence into the jungle.
Yeah, we'll take a look, especially with the changes to the map. This is the first time we'll see Europe on the new map with the speed buff and everything. Everybody's adjusting to it, and we'll take a look at how these players will go ahead and battle it out. We've got picks and bans coming to you live. Leftovers versus Dignitas right here on hi-rez TV. Cherryo on top of him and the chase down. ShadowNightmare finds the kill!
Absolutely brilliant.
There's the Athena ult. Real ult should help secure this unless Athena actually... The ult lands just in time for Suntouch to intercept.
Go Fury, Rens is here, let's watch him. Dignitas get the goal! Fury off that engagement!
Dignitas looking like a completely different squad this season, and a couple of those clips really showing why. Now again, for Leftovers, we mentioned that Cherryo is going to be in the jungle, which I think I'm a little more positive than Kevin on, honestly. I just think Cherryo's a dynamic player.
No, I think Cherryo will be successful in the jungle.
Right,
Do not get me wrong.
Exactly.
He was on London Conspiracy. Even when he came to the Super Regionals, his play was phenomenal. He's the in jungle, I feel like he's the European Verizial, or I guess Verizial's the North American Cherryo, where it's like, very deep god pool, can play whatever is needed for the team composition, is always willing to, if he needs to gank, he'll gank. If he needs to set up kills, he can set up kills. If he needs to be aggressive and try and invade, he'll do that. He will do anything, right? He is this Swiss Army knife that can adapt to any play style depending on what his team needs from him each game.
I think that Cherryo is a very dynamic player, and in the current map state for the jungle, I think that a dynamic jungler puts your team in a good position. Completely un-game related, jungler will be playing mid lane, and I just don't like that because it makes my job difficult. But
Fails, man. Just stick with fails.
We'll see how
He's
that
already
works
failing
out.
with his name swap, right? Bakasura first picked here by Team Dignitas. North America has kind of ignored Bakasura. They're not too scared of it. However, in Europe, we do see this banned out quite often or picked up. First pick, though, Team Dignitas is putting in a lot of trust into FrostiaK. He was the one who played it last time. We didn't see it coming out of their solo laner.
You know, FrostiaK, sure, DarkDodo, it's still not, I'm still not certain that this is going in the jungle for Dignitas.
It's a possible flex. I just expect FrostiaK.
Sure. Dodo has proven to be one of the more creative solo laners, not just in Europe, but also in North America.
Hate it. Because he played Loki, right?
Sure.
The only player to play Loki.
Yeah,
He got destroyed.
We've seen the Loki, we've seen the Apollo, we've seen a lot of creative
He'll do
picks.
whatever.
So the Bakasura, you know, like I said, I'm not too certain that that is for sure in the jungle. Leftovers, though, they certainly have given us Sobek in the support role. Neith, again, a little bit of flexibility there.
A little bit of namesake here. Badgah going to be on that Sobek, Suntouch on that Bacchus. We've seen a lot of success coming out of Suntouch this season.
Oh, yeah.
Coming into the season 3, right? Everyone's like, oh, Suntouch on the team again, right? He was a solid player. He's always been a solid player. However, he hasn't really been able to compete at the highest levels for a year and a half, but he has been dominating for Team Dignitas in that support role, which has really helped them catapult themselves into that 4th place position because, honestly, iRens has been struggling when it comes to Hunter play.
And Bacchus has been very successful for Suntouch and Team Dignitas at large. And Janus, also a particular god that's been very, very successful in the hands of ShadowNightmare, not just this season, but also historically. Want to bring some attention to the Cabrakan before we get into the second round of
Cherryo.
bans.
Would not be surprised.
Exactly. Cabrakan is an ambiguous pick. We see it more in the jungle, honestly, than solo, despite him being one of those weird place guardians. So should be an interesting look, at least for the jungle in Leftovers.
Isis going to be banned out by Dignitas, targeting out those mids since they do have ShadowNightmare on Janus.
So they're
You can never go wrong with Janus, and you can never go wrong with ShadowNightmare's Janus.
Exactly. But so Team Dignitas now expecting this Neith to be in the hands of Arkkyl, the Hunter player, not expecting Jungler to go for it, which I'm not so sure. Neith is a relatively safe mid lane. Would be nice to see Jungler on that mid lane. Ravana, on the other hand, a little bit more aggressive, and that will likely be the solo lane, confirming that Cabrakan will be in the jungle.
I'm a little bit worried about Leftovers composition here. They've gone Ravana, Cabrakan, and Sobek, all gods that like to be in the middle of the fight, right? They don't have very much, they don't have any like spacing or poke potential.
Or damage. I mean, you have a lot of burst out of Cabrakan if built in that way with the Polynomicon of the Soul Reaver. But other than that, I mean, Neith, not exactly a front, not exactly a hyper carry. Same to say about Ravana and Sobek. This is all slow. Hopefully we kill you eventually.
I mean, they're tanky, right? Leftovers are tanky. Yeah. They're going to pick up Soul, so there's a little bit of damage online. It doesn't really lead us to believe where the Neith or Soul are going. We haven't seen much the ways of Jungler in this mid lane position here and what kind of god pool he's going to be bringing out, so it'll be interesting.
The Anhur selected for Team Dignitas. North America has really been enjoying the King of the Jungle, and he's just so powerful. And in a meta where hunters want to fight you, Anhur fits right in.
I mean, Zadman first picked him. That's that's how powerful some of the teams in North America are, placing him.
And Anhur viewed as that powerful. Team Dignitas going to hope that they're just as powerful as the Lion King. The Leftovers, however, will try to put a stop in their way. Game number 1 on the way. Let's take it to the battlefield.
Jungler whipping the ult, but the snipe is even better. Cherryo. Really pumping up the damage, very taking too much damage. Nika's in, however, be able to confirm that kill. The root is out. Nika gets that double kill. Great rotation.
You know, Kevin, that might be my favorite intro reel that we have here. Not only do I absolutely love Cherryo, we get a look at him from land, but also Allied, definitely one of our brothers. We wish him well. A little bit sick at the moment, and hoping that he goes better. And just as a reminder, guys, if you go into your own client at home and you put in the code spot #AlliedStrong, you'll get your own Allied icon. You can sort of represent the Smite family as well.
Gotta rock it.
Everybody on my friends list has the same icon. It's very cool.
FrostiaK will be taking the Bakasura into the jungle, matching up against Cherryo on that Cabrakan. This is going to be interesting. I really think that Leftovers put themselves into an awkward spot. They don't really have a lot of damage coming out of their composition. Like you said, Cherryo's going to need to build into that, and it's going to take a little bit of time for him to go into that burst Cabrakan. But a lot of these gods are very just like melee range. Neith and Soul are really going to be the main damage outputs that Leftovers are looking for. And honestly, Neith just doesn't translate into the late game as well as Anhur.
Yeah, I mean, Neith, or late game, mid game is a little bit more interesting. Both of these characters can sort of hit their stride. I'm very interested to see the build path of Neith, if she'll go for a more battle situation or just complete front-end damage. Speaking of builds, though, taking a look towards Bacchus, right away we've got the straight up into the jump boots, or into the fast boots, the traveler shoes. And Suntouch actually going to go ahead
himself.
Invade speed buff all by his lonesome. Suntouch really flexing it. Two things. He's on the quote-unquote wrong side of the map. He's not going to be with dual lane, which means his mid and his hunter are doing all the jungle by themselves. Suntouch is able to surprise the opposition and Leftovers just watched a Bacchus take away their buff without one-shotting it with the jump.
This was a massive misplay by Leftovers, right? Suntouch had the Wrath, and they were just going to wait and try and steal it away, but they didn't recognize that he picked up that Relic. Now, you can see on the left-hand side, because of this, Leftovers are going to punish iRens and focus on these boars, but iRens doesn't really care about that too much. He's going to be getting solo farm since Suntouch is roaming, and it really seems like he's going to actually go to mid lane and help with these mid harpies. This is a really interesting start coming out from Dignitas. However, Suntouch is out of mana. He needs to be careful here.
So without the Watcher's Gift here, Kevin, without the Watcher's Gift, Suntouch is double jungling. We've got a completely different strategy coming out from Dignitas here. Watcher's Gift is an item that we see on supports all the time, and what it does is you want to be 2-2. You want to have a partner in lane. By forgoing the Watcher's Gift, he's not going to suffer any sort of penalty by being by himself, so he goes right into the Traveler Shoes, allows him to rotate faster. The speed buff will amplify that even more so, and he's just double jungling next to his current jungler, FrostiaK.
Level 3 right now. Suntouch is going to take a trip back to base here pretty soon, and has a little bit of gold in hand, 600. Probably needs to make his way to help out iRens here, but I mean, Badgah has rotated to the mid lane as well, trying to help him out. You can see iRens a little bit behind in experience, but he's fine for the most part. He's going to accept some gold loss as long as he doesn't get too far behind the Neith.
It's an interesting situation to see iRens on the Anhur here. I think the idea that Suntouch is going for Dignitas in the larger conversation is to let Anhur just get complete solo farm and see if iRens is going to be able to be this battler, this warrior in that early mid to mid game situation with the Anhur, which, to be completely honest with you, Kevin, iRens hasn't really shown us that side of his gameplay.
FrostiaK here, gonna invade.
One by one, Dignitas are going to take away these back harpies.
This is really interesting coming out because Leftovers are trying to figure out how to respond, and I think they've done a pretty good job. The one really suffering right now in this game is Cherryo because he's had so much stolen right now. He's only 250 gold behind, though. Because FrostiaK has been running around and hasn't been super efficient with his farming. He's going to hit level 5 here soon, but Cherryo going to be able to follow that up very quickly behind him. And this isn't as much of a massive lead as we expected coming out of Dignitas. It's only 200 gold.
Right now, the Elementals will be engaged on. Coming around from the back comes Nika, trying to start something, but ShadowNightmare jumps away. Suntouch, on the other hand, jumps in. Badgah in some trouble, looking for first blood. We've got our ultimates coming out in solo lane and Soul herself, but FrostiaK, there comes the Neith ultimate. Nika's going to follow up afterwards. Even with the heal, I think that's a Bakasura in some trouble, but Nika underneath the tower, no ultimate available. There it is, and he'll be able to use the kick to avoid some of the damage as well. First blood going the way of Leftovers.
You can see Badgah very low here. Jungler trying to get vision of Suntouch, who's roaming around in the jungle right now, but not going to be able to pick anyone off, no one with this team. And honestly, I don't know exactly what Dignitas was planning here, but they're playing this fairly sloppily. Leftovers now have a gold lead off that first blood, but it's only about 100, which means Dignitas have been out farming.
Yes.
And really, they've shut down Cherryo a little bit, but Suntouch has spent so much time roaming around that he hasn't prioritized himself in any manner.
He's going to look for this speed buff for the second time around. Keep in mind that Wrath is available.
I mean, they could just look to kill him.
Down. He's going to go ahead and use the... Not going to use the jump just yet. Stuck in the tremors. He's going to be safe. Jump over the wall. And Nika's going to make sure he's not so safe.
I really liked what Dignitas did here at the start, right? Suntouch comes in, invades the speed buff. However, honestly, Leftovers should have punished him. 100% they could have killed him with Cabrakan and Nika on that Ravana. But instead, they just don't recognize the Wrath. They're just trying to secure the speed buff, which I think is fine, right?
Yeah.
And then Suntouch is Suntouch, like you said, he's double roaming, but he's actually taking away farm that FrostiaK could be stealing, and he's putting himself into really awkward spots. Right there, trying to steal the speed buff by himself. He had no follow-up, right? And that's probably a twofold problem, right? It's either A, he called for it and no one came with him, but also no one came with him. He needs to recognize that and get out quicker.
With that in mind, FrostiaK still a little bit ahead of his opposition. 400 gold, give or take, and about half a level. So FrostiaK not suffering so much, but it's really Suntouch. He's already 2 levels behind the Sobek, and on Bacchus, that's a character that you want to get the levels. You want to be able to level up.
And he's not going to be going into pin boots, which is what we'll typically see coming out of Bacchus's. I think he's going to go immediately into the Spirit's Robe, though. Maybe the Urchin as well. Actually, I think Suntouch focuses more on the Urchin, just so he gets that bonus protections from both sides, as well as a little bit of health.
And here's going to be a massive big try.
This is free.
Early.
No one on Leftovers even knows this is happening.
25% already on the objective, and this is going to be a free gold fury going the way of Team Dignitas, and they find themselves about 500 gold up, despite the first blood going in the other way.
So, right now, the question is, what is Dignitas going to translate into, because I still think they have the superior team composition, especially with
Yes.
this Bacchus against the Cabrakan, the Ravana, and the Sobek, who all kind of want to be in that close range. Very likely that they group up and Suntouch can hit some big belly flops or guarantee intoxicates, because those players are all, probably trying to focus down the same person here.
Right.
iRens has quietly had a game so far. He's going to be backing. He's even gold with Arkkyl.
He's going to back for his first time. We'll see him likely finish the Golden Bow, as many hunters have. 55 power on that, so it just gives you a nice amplification of what you're able to dish out.
It's just you looking at throwing dagger into Golden Bow, right? It's 1,000 extra gold. You get 30 power and 8% movement speed.
Nothing was actually purchased by the Anhur after he makes his way back.
No, he never
didn't
backed.
actually
He got
back.
canceled.
Yeah, there you go. He canceled it. And there's some damage coming out in the solo lane. 2v2. Nothing really of consequence, despite ShadowNightmare ulting over there.
Badgah hanging around here as well. 4 members grouped up on Dignitas. Can't make anything happen, though. Trying to, like you said, pick off Cherryo in that jungle. Suntouch going to make his way back to mid lane. Still only level 6, but that's not too worrying for a support. I think a lot of that is actually the fact that Badgah has been splitting so much farm with Jungler that Badgah is now kind of ahead, and Jungler's a little bit behind ShadowNightmare in that regard.
It's actually kind of interesting. Despite 2 levels, or probably more accurately a level and a half, 200 gold separate the supports. Well, I say supports. Let's just stick to Bacchus and Sobek, because I don't know what Suntouch is doing here today. But yeah, the Golden Bow certainly finished, as will Boots. Ren's backed once in 7 minutes and picks up everything.
We got full boots, full Golden Bow. But, Arkyl's on the other side of that matching him. You could see Arkkyl, though, pressured under his tower right now. And iRens has had a single good game this season, and it was on Anhur, and it was one of the most dominating hunter performances we saw. Very early rotations, likes to set up kills. This is a guy that I think iRens is very comfortable on right now at the start of Season 3, and I like to see him on it as well. And I think Dignitas will start to pick this god up much more often.
I would certainly hope so. I mean, basically the water cooler chatter is that iRens, when it comes time to scrims, not only does he do well, but he kills you a lot. He's an aggressive player that looks for the kills and frequently finds them. And then transitioning into the SPL or lands, we just don't see that often. Here comes another jump from Janus. Jumping in his
Cherryo.
Bacchus, and that's a dead Cabrakan. 1 kill going the way of ShadowNightmare. Dignitas find themselves on the board very quickly.
And that was Cherryo not respecting the ult coming out of ShadowNightmare. They're able to get his team into the fight very quickly, and then Cherryo gets picked off. Cherryo, I believe, had boots 3 there. Trying to invade, though, I don't know. This is a really awkwardly paced game where I'm seeing a lot of mistakes from both teams. I think we're going to start to translate here into the mid game, where I think we'll go back to the traditional meta where it's going to be a lot of grouping, some 3v3s and 4v4 fights. Right now, it's just players getting caught out doing stuff and not respecting the rotations from the opponents.
I mean, honestly, the move that Dignitas made here to send Suntouch as the double jungle,
I liked it.
I enjoyed it, and what it did was it sort of tossed everything on their heads. Leftovers, I mean, they just didn't know. They literally didn't know what to do the first time Suntouch jumped over, and they give the speed buff away. And then even then, the responses to the other moves that Suntouch made, Leftovers were able to respond positively, but not right away. So this move, this change that Suntouch was doing right away from the start and really not heading over to the left side of the map at all has put Leftovers in a position where they have to sort of figure out what's going on. And now at the 9-minute mark, I think Leftovers are able to really understand. And not for nothing, this is when supports really start to do what Suntouch is doing now. He just started it earlier.
Suntouch has Urchin online as well, so going to be looking to stack that up. Urchin, one of those items that you always want to make sure to buy early. The later it goes, the less likely you're going to find stacks on it. Has his boots as well. Still has the Wrath, and I expect Suntouch to continuously look for invades with this Wrath. You need to make sure that it's worth it, right? Because you don't have a team fighting active. You don't have the meditation, the shells, the sprints, right? You'll get one of those in your second slot, but the later the game goes, the less powerful Wrath is, and if you're not, constantly invading or looking to set up these early gold tiers, like he already did once, you're wasting it.
And I think it's worked out for Suntouch thus far, and specifically Dignitas will be looking a lot at the speed buff. This really empowers junglers, and Dignitas seem to, from the get-go, really want to deny this buff to the opposition. Sobek's going to show up with a Cabrakan and a Soul. Cherryo will try to aggress on the ShadowNightmare. We'll walk through a wall. Now stuck in some trouble with a Neith coming his way. That'll be the death of Shadow, with or without Neith. Suntouch, on the other hand, in some trouble as well. Badgah pops him with the ultimate. Nice tail whip, but right on through the wall. And Janus saved the lives one more time, even after death. Shadow able to impact that fight.
That was very lucky for Dignitas. They were almost in a ton of trouble. That portal had just closed right after DarkDodo goes through it. But now, Leftovers, they're able to force a couple members back, and they're going to immediately look at the Skull Fury. Rens, though, King of the Jungle, King of the Steals, he's going to make his way with FrostiaK, trying to get into position. But Leftovers just reset. DarkDodo, though, he's made the rotation as well. FrostiaK drops his ult, trying to find a kill, and he's going to lock down Cherryo. And now DarkDodo raining hell onto Badgah. He'll be able to escape as Nika's rotation finishes off Dodo, and Suntouch forces Leftovers off the Gold Fury. Overall, a 1-for-1, though, solo for jungle.
Still a little bit of a lead for Dignitas, but all things even, if we really want to get down to it. Looking at the Cabrakan build, not going to find the burst that we're necessarily used to, or perhaps we're looking for with this lineup, honestly. Again, going to harp on the fact that there's just not a lot of damage on the side of Leftovers, and that's a little bit rough to deal with as they head into, as the game gets later and later. Early on, a lot of characters just do damage from their base abilities, but as we get further into the mid and then the late game, really where are Leftovers going to look to do the heavy lifting?
Right? I mean, Cherryo he's gone into damage early on, right? He's gone into the shoes of the Magi, so he has the penetration, and then immediately into the Dynasty Plate Helm. Cabrakan has very strong base numbers, so all he needs is really that flat penetration. He's not really looking to stack up a massive amount of magical power, right? That's why he's, so efficient even when he goes into health builds with, kind of a Soul Reaver on top of it. And you see those 100 to zeros, and it's like, well, he has like 200 magical power, but he's still bursting.
So we'll see if that goes on. And to be fair, the helmet is more offensive than I think I give it credit for.
It's the Magi plus the Dynasty Plate helmet, because it's 25 flat pin against players who probably only have, not that much protections early on.
Yeah.
Right? The supports have it. No one else has magical protection.
Pretty much. And, the Cabrakan is a guardian. He is a guardian.
You sure? Doesn't look like it to me.
4-0-0.
Well, who does he guard, right?
Yeah, that's true. 4 kills for Nika. Every single kill that Leftovers have had in this game have come up from the solo laner, and it's only 12 minutes in, so it's not like Nika's busy rotating. There's just been a constant party in this solo lane. And because of the success that this Ravana has had, Nika's sitting about 2 levels up above the Bellona.
And right now, he actually has teleport. This is an opportunity. I'm not sure if Nika knows the cooldown on DarkDodo's teleport, but honestly, Leftovers could force a fight right now, have Nika in there, and there's nothing DarkDodo can do about it. It's going to be late. It's going to be a numbers advantage. And like you said right now, Nika is so far ahead of DarkDodo that just having that level 14 Ravana in the team fights is critical.
Level 14 on both hunters as well. Neith and Anhur have been able to sort of just mitigate whatever has come their way. Anhur, Rens isn't exactly going off and finding anybody in the jungle or whatnot. Neither is Neith, but they're staying relevant, and they're both a threat to that Gold Fury. So we saw one free one, Kevin. I don't think we're going to see any more objectives without any contestation, unless there's a fight before.
And I think that was simply Leftovers, like you said, getting lost in the beginning game. Yeah. It's like, okay, we just had our speed invaded by a Bacchus who had jumped down, and we didn't kill him or punish him for some reason. And then it was just like back and forth. No one knew what was going on. And then I think it was like 2 players were back in base for Leftovers. The others, went to their lanes to farm, and it's just like, we've been lost the whole game, right? Where are they now?
Yeah, it was just really Leftovers trying to find their bearings. And now, after 10 minutes, I think they have. Leftovers, Badgah's crew has really sort of found their footing. Suntouch looking for something, but Leftovers will curl around the corner instead. Sunny will catch them out.
Just trying to get a little bit of farm there in the mid lane, hugging that wall. Counter warding going the way of Leftovers here, but ShadowNightmare throws a little bit of poke onto Cherryo, just spacing from both teams. ShadowNightmare, level 14 right now, but I'm looking at Cherryo, right? Level 11. He's been shut out of his own jungle, and then honestly, every time he's tried to invade, it's just been a rotation from Dignitas, forcing him out, or even the one time just picking him off.
Yeah, both deaths that are Dignitas has 2 kills, and they're both on Cherryo. They're both in this Cabrakan, like you said, punishing. The Impale's going to miss out of iRens, and what looked like a nice 1v1 will quickly turn into a 2v1 with the jump down. The wall comes out. Beads to avoid the stun underneath. And there's a turnaround, looking for the damage as Suntouch. Couple more basics will do it, and Rens puts the Impale right into Arkkyl. Still going on to the Cabrakan, trying to find a couple more. One more will secure it, and Rens has the double kill this early on. Certainly a different character than we're used to seeing.
Nika and DarkDodo have made their way over as well, and Rens coming up with a big play there. What looked like a gank in favor of Leftovers quickly turned on them. Great play coming out of Rens, just perfectly timed everything. The purification was on point, and then immediately looking for Neith, completely ignoring the Cabrakan in front of him. That was the call call coming up from Suntouch. Gold Fury, though, could be under contention, and Leftover is actually going to steal it away with Supernova.
Big play coming out from the Soul to take that Gold Fury away from Dignitas. So despite the win that Dig gets with the double kill over in the duo lane, Leftover is able to capitalize, strip away an objective from them. And the follow jump over the wall. DarkDodo now in some trouble. Strong disarm, but Robin's still okay. Got to find one more hit.
He's got it. There's nothing DarkDodo can do there. Nika going to chase him down, and all 5 kills now for Leftovers onto this solo lane. Robin and level 16 been very powerful. I believe it was the Supernova that stole that Gold Fury, correct?
Yeah, it was a little. Supernova certainly brought it down. I think it was a little bit of the aftershock afterwards.
There was a ton of stuff going on there.
Yeah, exactly.
You could see Wrath was, okay, 40 seconds. Was Wrath down when Dignitas attempted that?
Yes.
So they attempted Gold Fury in front of all of Leftovers' team, including a Soul who has big, massive AoE burst damage, and no one zoned.
Well, I mean, exactly. No one's
Okay.
zoned. That's really the key there. Was that?
Okay. I'm just trying to break this down here on what Dig's do in this game. It's very hard.
Right.
Suntouch stole speed buff at level 1
You get
by himself.
You get the double kill and you go for the Gold Fury. That's all well and good, but definitely the zoning has to come out from Dignitas. They go ahead and they drop the ball and they get the objective stolen from them. But the positive in that situation was certainly iRens. The double kill coming out from Anhur wasn't very. It wasn't an easy play. There was a lot of mechanics that were going on there. Like you said, fantastic target prioritization, able to turn around on the correct target, and then even more so, find the basics. This is the character. This is the god that we need to see iRens on. He looks like a different player when he's on the Lion.
I mean, he really struggled at the start of Season 3.
Yeah.
And honestly, Dignitas probably would be further up in the standings, maybe even over Paradigm if he had been playing at the level he does on Anhur. Not only this game, but the game before that we saw him hard carry Dignitas on last week. Looks like Badgah, though, going to try and set something up, forcing ShadowNightmare back. And look at that, Cherryo around the corner, but the wall a little bit off the mark. ShadowNightmare should be fine here. He will take a Neith ult and just ult away.
FrostiaK tosses out his ult as well, just to dissuade anybody from going too deep, just in case. ShadowNightmare shows up. Pokes Badgah out a lot, actually. About 40% HP on the Croc, so he's going to continue on. And iRens with the rotation.
Is by himself. Needs to be careful.
He misses the Impale, so doesn't find the stun onto the Cabrakan, but largely is safe himself as he drops a ward.
Nika forced out by Suntouch in the mid lane, and both teams, a lot of positioning right now, trying to just pick a players off. Right, we saw there Badgah forcing ShadowNightmare, or baiting ShadowNightmare into Cherryo. However, his ult's a little bit off. DarkDodo going forward, looking for Badgah. Should fall here with the combination. Supernova actually doing a lot of damage to ShadowNightmare. He's going to be fine, however, as Badgah falls in the front. FrostiaK forcing the rest of Leftovers away, and it's a quick pick. And very good combination from Dignitas.
Another knock-up from Suntouch on one more player, but the difference is that player was Nika on the Robin. He has a level for every minute of the contest. 17 on the Robin. 5 kills. Again, still, every single kill on Leftovers is on the solo lane.
And a lot of that is, like we said, right, Leftovers don't have a lot of confirmed damage. I don't know how to describe this, right? They don't have a lot of damage that's very easy to hit and can get a lot of free poke off of, right, outside of Soul. And then what happens is that Leftovers, they get a lot of people low, and then Nika, with the massive amount of slows and roots, is just able to kind of slowly chase them and whittle them down. We saw that on FrostiaK on the right-hand side. We saw it in the left lane when he chased down DarkDodo. A couple of kills in the middle of fights as well.
The team is missing finishers. That's really what they have. They have a lot of characters that can chunk you down slowly but surely, and looking for the burst primarily out of Cabrakan as he goes into the Breastplate of Valor instead of the Polynomicon. Definitely, probably a different story. Ult for ult?
But I don't know. Cherryo's been struggling in the jungle there.
Sure.
No need to ult there. I mean, ShadowNightmare was looking directly at the mid-Harpy wall.
The idea was
there is no idea.
There's the long delay. Delay. The idea was to put the wall down in front of Janus, but didn't work out for the Cabrakan player. I'm not sure how many hours Cherryo has on Cabrakan, because that's a feel thing. You get used to the deployment. Excuse me.
Suntouch here picked off. Does have his jump though, and not a lot of burst. Quick portal by ShadowNightmare gonna help Suntouch escape the danger. But the point there is that Janus ult, what it does is you actually put it on a wall and it creates a portal and you go through the wall. And then Cherryo actually ulted that little area underneath, like between mid camps and like the tower wall.
Right.
But you know what Janus ult does, like I said, it creates a portal on the wall. And so Janus said, why would I need to go there when I can just take this portal through the wall?
Like I said,
that's not blocked by Cabrakan ultimate.
I think the plan was to put the Cabrakan wall in front of the geometry wall, and it just, after he saw that Janus had already gotten out, it was sort of like, all right, I'll move my camera. I'm just trying to get out of here. Either way, we're still wound up about even. 45K, 5-5, read the kills. We approach 20 minutes on the clock. It's been pretty back and forth. Some early shenanigans coming out from Dignitas and an early Gold Fury. They tried for a second one, stolen away from leftovers, and that evens things up. And right now, Dignitas being aggressed on. There's a good wall from Cherryo this time around, but again, Janus finds a way out through the side.
A little bit of CDR for Janus, so he will have his ultimate online. Oh, Cherryo as well. Cherryo as well there. Has a little bit of CDR from Breastplate. Leftovers actually have started this, and it looks like they're full committing. 4,000 health. Badgah just trying to peel on the back line. Quickly ults to immune the stun here, and Cherryo looking for Dodo.
He's going to be very low, finds a way out, but Badgah says no, looking for follow-up, and Bacchus comes out of nowhere and stops it. However, Nika's right there to finish things up. Badgah with final credit. Following the jump is going to be the Anhur. Again, a tail whip stops him, but a basic attack confirms the kill onto the support. And there's Arkkyl dealing with FrostiaK. Strong Purification puts FrostiaK on top. And Suntouch going to be on top of the other one. Cherryo spills one more time. 8-6 as Dignitas pick up 2-3 and only lose Dodo.
Nika and Jungler are sitting around. Jungler here heads back to mid lane, and it doesn't look like Dignitas are going to be forcing the Gold Fury. Leftovers have ward coverage, but they want to play it a little bit safe. They have this three-man grouping. They're actually going to be trying to get this tier 1 on left, but with FrostiaK backing, I don't think they're actually going to be forcing it. And the team backs off. Overall, a win for Dignitas, though. Gold Fury, gold still even.
They learned the first time.
They're like, no, thank you.
Change of mind, though, here. Dignitas going to go ahead and start things up. This time a pillar will separate. 50% already on the objective. Soul coming around the corner, as is Nika. Nika's actually a little bit closer than Soul, and the call is made to give it up. Dignitas get the Gold Fury after the successful engagement.
No one on Leftovers was anywhere close, and I think trying to steal that away, right? Maybe you can't. Actually, no, you can't without Soul, right? Soul or Neith are the only two that are going to be able to really get into that Gold Fury, try and steal it away. And if someone from Leftovers tried to steal it, likely that they just die, and then that opens up opportunities for Dignitas to force towers.
This is the first. This is one of the first opportunities of the game, really. If we take a look at the graphs, it'll show us a little bit more. You can see this is one of the bigger leads of the game, 2,200, and with a 2,000 gold lead, you can really try to leverage some fight, try to find a tier 2. So this is the first real spot where we find footing. There's going to be a knock-up. Stun going to be missed out. Pillar
Just
and Power
barely.
combo. Just barely off the mark from iRens.
Arkkyl gonna keep his life for now. You can see iRens gonna take a trip back to base. Wait into the Ick-File, Aussie, so doesn't have chins just yet. And actually gonna finish Titan's Bane very early on. This Anhur right now is gonna be swinging in team fights.
Yeah, it's a lot of penetration coming out. The combination of the Anhur passive plus the Titan's Bane. Just a whole lot of pen coming out from the Anhur.
Aussie and Ick-File too, right? They both are giving flat penetration. Anhur is doing, honestly, true damage to many of the, like all the carries on Leftovers right now.
It's certainly possible. There's just a lot of stats. And that last item, what do you reckon he's going?
Chins.
I think it's going to be a chin sai? Just with all that penetration.
He's already gone into the attack speed there. No ShadowNightmare. Gonna force his Purification. That's a win for Cherryo in his mind. That means in the next 160 seconds, if Leftovers could find a stun or a pluck from Badgah, should result in a kill.
More defensive options coming out from Cabrakan here. 0, 4, and 5. Definitely not a bad plan. Building into that wing blade.
Mid camp's going to be secured on the left-hand side, and neither team seemed to really want to force anything outside of Suntouch and Badgah. They've been the ones looking for the position, but it's going to be very hard for Leftovers to come up with any kills, right? Even at that Gold Fury fight, right? We saw them kind of all get baited once again, right? We saw Bacchus over the wall. That's going to be their biggest weakness, is this Bacchus, because they all want to be in melee range. They all have to be very close to get off their damage, and even then, it's not 100-0 burst, right? It's a lot of ability damage spread out, but they can't just annihilate someone. And with not only Suntouch and iRens, FrostiaK all having jumps, right? But ShadowNightmare could portal everyone in and out. It's going to be very hard for the team to secure kills if Dignitas come up with the coordinated attack.
And then, like you said, on the other side, Suntouch, everybody on Leftovers, not everybody, but you're going to see a large grouping. Don't be surprised to see 2- and 3-man knockups coming from the belly flop out of Suntouch because of the nature of these characters. Outside of Neith and Jungler, I mean, Cherryo, Nika, and Badgah are all going to be clumped up on a single target.
And Suntouch is not going to die for a very long time, right? He'll be the Leftovers is going to have to like full-on wipe a team and then focus him, because he's gone straight into the Bulwark of Hope, and he's already gone into another magical defensive item, right? It's Cherryo and Jungler that are doing the damage. He's not worried about Arkkyl's damage right now. Rin should be taking care of him in fights, and then Nika, right? Not a lot of burst, just a lot of like, I'm going to slow you down, root you, and kind of, you know, beat you up for 15 seconds.
Yeah.
And by then, Suntouch should realistically be able to get away.
And then, you know, by now, 5 stacks on the Urchin already, so only 3 kills have gone by without it being stacked up for Suntouch. Red buff going to go the way of the mid laner one more time.
Rin's here, just farming up 3-0-1. Has the most kills on his team and has played a very solid game so far. I think, you know, if Rin's could start playing at this level consistently, we can see Dignitas really start to string together some wins against higher-end teams.
Man, even with that move, 90% of that ultimate goes through. I think he only misses one of the spears there, right there. Unfortunately for Rens and the Dignitas fans at home, Arkkyl pulls out a strong relic and is able to mitigate most of the damage thanks to Sanctuary.
Now, right-hand side, Nika's rotated over. In leftovers, that was their one advantage, right? Nika at 5-0-1 had all the kills onto him. However, he hasn't really been this massive impact, right? He's kind of been sitting there farming. He rotates to the team fights, maybe like he's like picked up a kill, you know, at the end of a fight, but not really. Leftovers weren't really able to abuse him when he really had that, you know, 1K gold lead early on in the match.
On the flip side, Dignitas' FrostiaK has been pretty interesting. How do you like the Bakasura pick here? Because we've seen a certain amount of Bakasura, and not all of it has been largely successful.
I mean, this isn't doing any. I haven't seen any crazy plays. I haven't seen him, you know, like invading a crazy amount. It's really been. It wasn't FrostiaK specifically, right? He would have invaded on Thor just as much because it was mostly Dignitas as a squad, as a unit coming in. And I mean, it's an okay pick, right? It's going to be good to cripple out players, but it was first picked, right? So it wasn't anything like, oh, we need to cripple out, you know, Arkkyl so we can't backflip or anything. It was just like, we want to take this god and run with it. And it hasn't been this like super impactful first pick.
Exactly.
It's solid.
Exactly. When somebody first picks a character that's outside of the normal first pick meta, right? That's usually a sign that they're going to go absolutely crazy with it, like Zapman with the Anhur, or when we see Luminosity prioritize the Thor, which is half and half first pick or not, but Luminosity will prioritize that, and Andy will go absolutely ham. So FrostiaK on this Bakasura, kind of maybe expecting a little bit more?
Possibly here.
Despite him being successful.
He's trying to set up some kills. You can see both teams grouping around this gold tier. FrostiaK was sitting around the corner, not on top of a ward. Badgah, though, going to find a pluck.
FrostiaK from the side, trying to come all the way around the backside. Going to take him a while to get to the fight. Suntouch pops the ultimate. There's the shell in anticipation of the Bakasura damage. Rens puts all of the damage from his ult into the Cabrakan. Not enough to find a kill, but Rens still push and go. Couple of basics. One more hit on Arkkyl, and he finds it with the Impale. Can't find another target, so one will be enough. 9-6 as Dignitas push a little bit further, and they'll look directly at the gold.
I mean, just look at the health of Dignitas, right? They took nothing there. They took no damage from leftovers. It's just not any burst coming out from them. Leftovers, they don't want to give this up for free, though. A little bit of a better job at zoning here this time. You can see leftovers, they're going to concede, and Dignitas secure their second gold fury of the match.
And that is right there.
Excuse me, third.
That is the complete difference between this time and the gold fury that wasn't successful. Last time, we saw 5 players on the gold fury, and leftovers just sort of hit their buttons, crossed their fingers, and wound up with a boost of gold. This time around, you see 2 players, Nika and FrostiaK, just saying, no, you shall not pass. You cannot come through, and leftovers don't even gamble. They don't even look at the gold. They turn directly around, and Dignitas are able to, off of that zone, not only get gold, but also pick up a tier 2, or a tier 1, excuse me.
And now with about a 5,000 gold lead, starting to get pretty significant here for Dignitas. We are only 20, actually not only, we're 20, maybe 28 minutes in. Although this, I don't know, it feels like we've only been like 10 minutes into this game. I don't know what it is. I guess it's been like so evenly paced throughout.
Well, we got a bonus extra. The early game was kind of bonus because Suntouch was running around.
Yeah, like the first 8 minutes didn't count because we're like, oh, what's going on here? I've never seen this before.
Yeah, there was just so much excitement going on with different things coming out of the woodwork. So half hour, and you know, I'm with you. It certainly doesn't feel like a half hour here with that beginning. So Dignitas now really solidifying their lead.
This is interesting, right? We have the damage charts up right now. All players, though, separated by only roughly 3,000 damage, right? About 3,600, it looks like. So that's very close, right? The support's getting a part of as much as the hunters are.
Which is funny because coming in here, you know, my biggest point about picks and pans was leftovers don't have a whole bunch of damage. But here, clearly,
But
able
that's
to
the thing,
keep up.
it's all poke damage, right? It's like
Exactly.
Dignitas aren't like poking, they're just like, all right, let's pull the trigger. Okay,
Yep.
we won the team fight. And we've seen that twice now. It's really been it's not that leftovers don't have damage, it's that it's all sustained damage. It's not
Yeah.
burst.
Bacchus, Rens with the ultimate, ShadowNightmare with everything Janus thinks about, and even FrostiaK, right? FrostiaK brings basic attack damage that winds up being burst damage because of the nature of
Those
Butcher
3
Blades.
seconds, there's a
Yeah.
lot of damage coming out, especially when Butcher Blades are popped. You have that true damage also, and
look at that
FrostiaK
build.
Gonna be stealing away. Yeah, I saw that too. I like what he's gone, right? He's gone Iqvile and Fatalis, which are key items, right? Then into the Chin's, also another key item. And then he actually goes into the Winged Blade, and that's because all the slow options on leftovers,
So
which means
many.
FrostiaK is going to be able to close the gap and then stick onto players even more. And then Stonecutting Sword to steal away protections. He's already, you know,
Yep.
2.37 attack speed, doesn't need any more.
Yeah, I mean the 50 power on Stonecutting Sword is usually a big point for a lot of characters. On the Bakasura, not so much. It's really all of the other text, whether it's the movement speed or the passive.
I love this. I love this. ShadowNightmare recognizes that all of leftovers had rotated to the right-hand side to try and defend their tier 2. Quickly just ults to the mid lane,
Yeah.
gets his team there, and it's a free tier 1 mid. That was a beautiful play.
And we see the Janus ultimate a lot, just for faster individual rotation, right? To get, I didn't realize that the jungler's there. Now the mid lane can rotate. Now it's an even 3v3. It's a little bit more rare to see the whole team juke out another whole team. That's what makes Janus so powerful, and ShadowNightmare just puts it on display right there.
Coming into the 31st minute so far, players starting to complete their builds. We have only right now Nika done with his. He's got the Genji's garb there, so a lot of CDR coming out from him.
Oh, yeah.
Winged Blade as well. And kind of like all his items are very good for their passives, right? Like no just like core item outside of Frostbound.
I mean, he's built outside of the Genji's garb. He has a
Bunch of utility.
He's got utility. He's got a "Don't Touch Me" Bakasura build. He's got the Mid Guardian. He's got the Frostbound. He's got the Winged Blade, and he even has the Breastplate of Valor. Which, sure, Butcher Blade's going to go right on through that with the true stuff. But everything else, I mean, this is a Bakasura's going to eat me up. And Genji's garb, I mean, Shadow's cool too, right? Like that's basically what this Nika build is. And leftovers not having their strongest game. Nika, on the other hand, doing totally fine.
And you know he's been a part of most of these fights here.
100% kill participation. Certainly a big part of it. And up until the 6th kill on leftovers, had every single kill. Forget participation. He was all of the kills on this team.
It's just like, what are leftovers going to do? How are they going to win this, right? How are they going to win team fights? Like, they have to try and pick players off, but it's going to be very hard because we already talked about it. But the mobility on Dignitas, they have 3 jumps. They have an ult that gives protections and also repositions yourself. And they have ShadowNightmare, who's just going to be able to create portals on walls, get his team in and out. And as a CC immune ult as well, right? The second Cherryo, you know, comes close. And that's the whole idea, right? Is you need to have Cherryo catch ShadowNightmare in an awkward spot. But the problem is ShadowNightmare's positioning is great. He's always hugging a wall. And we saw it the one time where Cherryo locked him in. But because ShadowNightmare was on a wall, Cherryo's ult went through the wall as well, and he was still able to portal through.
You know, it's funny. I actually audibly went, oh, because I sat there going, you know, I could have sworn the Janus ult doesn't go through the Cabrakan stuff, but it was in the wall itself, and I saw it on second glance.
The only time you could really ever see like the Cabrakan work against Janus is if the Janus is just like not close to a wall, and that's a misplay on ShadowNightmare, which he hasn't done so far.
Yeah, you need an incredible amount of precision to really lock that down. Janus here, trying to set things up. Dignitas with a very aggressive positioning here. It's clear that both teams want to contest the Fire Giant, but Dignitas are going to take one step forward and walk into the jungle of leftovers. Split up as the team, 3 on the left, 2 on the right, with the objective being ShadowNightmare here. FrostiaK and friends going to try and protect their mid-mage, as ShadowNightmare very far ahead.
Dig want to force this Fire Giant, but right now they're just trying to poke players out. They want to pick more than anything.
And look at this. Dignitas are trying to bait leftovers. They're putting ShadowNightmare in the front of the conversation to force them to jump on the Janus, and it's going to go the other way. There's the jump from Suntouch and a whole lot of burst coming out from FrostiaK and ShadowNightmare. Frosty's going to clean up one. There's a strong wall out of Cabrakan to deter Dignitas from keep on keeping on, but 2 kills have already been done. Badgah and Nika fall. Cherryo, Jungler, and Arkkyl the only ones alive, and with 2 down, Dignitas going to head right towards the
And
Fire
that was
Giant.
perfect from Jungler as well, right? All of Dignitas funneled into that small corridor. He drops Supernova, hits everyone, but it doesn't matter, right? It's just not enough damage. There's no follow-up because Nika and Cherryo have to be in the front line, and we've seen them get shredded. ShadowNightmare actually almost dying to the lava pools. Funny enough, him and DarkDodo were stacked up, so he's getting double-ticked, but managed to stay alive. Actually, Cherryo could... No, I almost thought Cherryo was going to catch him. His blink was up, but just went to the blue buff. Had no vision of Shadow.
Wonderful, wonderful team fight there coming out from Dignitas. Show the patience, they work it out, and basically they're very aggressive, so they're pushing Leftovers back. And again, like I said, they put ShadowNightmare a little bit ahead, then they slink back. And once Leftovers try to regain the space that Dignitas gave up, Suntouch immediately jumps in, and in the course of the jump, before Sunny even lands, already Janus is charging up the ultimate, comes through, and that damage combined with FrostiaK, I mean, the kills weren't instant, but it was already said and done.
It's like all the players, they're forced to group up because they're melee range, right?
Yep,
And then
yep.
Suntouch bounces all of them, followed up by a guaranteed ShadowNightmare snipe, and then FrostiaK as well, right? Even though he's auto attack, right? It's still, he has that AoE auto attack, which means, once again, he's shredding through these players. He's not scared of Nika. He's not scared of Cherryo, and that's, it was actually FrostiaK was the initiator there. ShadowNightmare portals to people, and immediately FrostiaK jumps on the back line to force them away, and then those close range players were all grouped.
Cherryo trying to get close range himself. He's knocked back by the Anhur, and Ren's trying to save some face. Suntouch, weird interaction there. The wall protects Suntouch just in time. Badgah doesn't get what he came for. Everybody very healthy on Dignitas. Quite a different story on Leftovers. Half HP is Badgah. And Cherryo coming around from the side. Suntouch going to have to jump out. He's tanked the Phoenix for far too long. But the objective is secured. Rens finds a kill on the backside with the penetration of the ultimate. And there's one more kill from ShadowNightmare. Badgah trying to find safety in the fountain. Absolutely not, says Shadow.
Now the tier 2 is going to start to be sieged up. Gold Fury's available as well if Dignitas want to look at that. They could also steal away the speed buff, but they're looking right at the Phoenixes. DarkDodo to back. He has teleport, so he'll be back in this fight, and the siege has started. Cherryo and Badgah dead. It's a 5-on-3 for Leftovers. They're trying to defend here.
This is a completely different character than we're used to seeing at iRens. He plays so confidently on this Anhur. He knows the amount of damage he's able to give out, and sure, he's ahead now, but he got there from playing this way.
And I'd like to see Dignitas here really start to close out. They have a 14k lead. They're going to finish off this tier 2 on the right-hand side. They're going to steal away the speed buff, which is stripping experience from Leftovers. And I would like to see Rens or someone go straight to the Gold Fury, but they're actually going to say no, right?
Yeah.
Badgah and Cherryo are still dead. Let's push the 3 Phoenixes. Let's put the nail in the coffin.
Badgah and Cherryo will be alive for this Phoenix Siege, but they're rezzing right about now. So there is a little bit of time. The Phoenix has been taken down to about 75% HP already, but Dignitas realized that everybody on Leftovers has rezzed up. They're ready to fight, and Dignitas not willing to take the 6-on-5, the 6 being the Firebird.
Oh my word. Can we see Golden Hand? Rens right now with 4,000, 3,000 coming out from FrostiaK, and 2k for the rest of the squad. ShadowNightmare!
Just going for it.
Cheeky.
Just going for it.
Cheeky little... I'm not gonna say it, but you know what I was saying there.
Just going for it.
He just wanted to kill someone, man.
Yeah.
That would have been feels bad, dude. If you're Arkkyl or jungler and you just get hit by that ultimate, just like feels bad, man.
I mean, so that's Shadow understanding that with a minute 40 on the Fire Giant, he doesn't have to use the ultimate to secure some crazy play that Leftovers going for an objective. If Leftovers get Gold Fury, well, that's not great, but sure, that's okay. ShadowNightmare just go for it.
Listen, let me tell you the comms. Let me tell you the comms from Lewis here, right? That's ShadowNightmare's real name. He's like, yo, guys, I bet you I can one-shot jungler here. Watch this. And then he ults. And then that was it. That was it. It's like, oh, man, I missed.
No. It comes after Suntouch takes the bet. That's when the ultimate gets pulled.
Hey, Suntouch. Hey, Sunny.
I bet you 5 quid.
5 quid I could one-shot jungler here.
ShadowNightmare got to pay up Suntouch there.
And actually jungler, right? Not Cherryo.
Yeah. The actual jungler.
Come on,
you know, you actually threw me for a loop. Jungler still on the mid lane soul. He's had 0-0-3. He hasn't had such a terrible game. And that Warlock Sash, honestly, has helped him really withstand a lot of the damage that Dignitas has been able to put out. Dignitas find themselves over 10,000 gold above their opposition, despite only having 13 kills.
And this has just been Dignitas running train ever since their 3rd Gold Fury, just taking tower after tower, shredding away every little bit of experience that leftovers can gain, and it's going to be very hard for them, right? Most of the players now level 20 in the game, but full builds coming out from Dignitas. They're setting up for Fire Giant, and they've got minions pushing into the base right now, so leftovers are going to be busy for a little bit longer here, and it looks like this Fire Giant's going to go uncontested. No one from leftovers even close.
Yeah, ShadowNightmare here, and they're able to burst down the Fire Giant, and like you said, leftovers, they're not close, and they don't want to be. If leftovers show up and try to contest this objective, they're just not going to be successful. Instead, the team has to pay attention to the base. You can see the right Phoenix already respawned, the left one about to, so leftovers has to tend to the fire minions rather than look towards the Fire Giant.
Now the question is, what are Dig going to do here? Are they going to walk up the lane, or are they going to drop ship in? And it looks like they're going to walk up the lane, so pushing up the minions here. ShadowNightmare going to be able to heal up with the help of the Fire Giant regen, and now Dignitas looking to take the last Phoenix. Left-hand side, Arkkyl's being kept busy by the fire minions. He's making the rotation, however.
Well, that's a story.
And honestly, Dig could just wait for the fire minions to take that left-hand side Phoenix, but they're going right in.
And I mean, that's the story of this game, right? Leftovers dealing with fire
minions.
Shadow! Stuck out. There's the Sanctuary on the Janus, so he's going to go ahead, turn around with the ultimate. Blasts in the faces. FrostiaK able to take out one, but Shadow does fall after a while. Nika winds up on top. Double kills of their opposition. Dignitas still up on top. It's now going to be a 4v4 with help from the Phoenix, of course, so a little bit of a 4v5. But look at Badgah just get chunked down by iRens.
FrostiaK trying to do something over on that left-hand side. Wasn't a part of the fight. Didn't really get any kills, but he's going to be able to help secure these Phoenixes as well. Now all three Phoenixes down. Badgah, or excuse me, Suntouch going to jump forward, find Cherryo knocked up, and Dignitas, they have fire minions raining in. If they want to end, now's the time. Chaos Titan, it's already close to half right now, 4,700, but it looks like the call is going to be to back off forward now. They'll have another opportunity, but iRens actually baits Nika.
Nice show up from Suntouch to stop Badgah in his tracks. Half HP on the Crocodile, and there's a solo laner up in front to prevent the charge prey. FrostiaK gets one. Dodo gets another. Jumping forward, Ren stomps on a player. The surrender vote has started, but Dignitas gonna win this one the old-fashioned way. 17-7. Dignitas with 20,000 gold above their opponents wind up with the win.
And the beginning very awkward, right? Suntouch comes in, he
different,
cheeky little steal, right?
Sure.
And that was one of those things where, like, honestly, he 100% should have died there. He would have been slowed by Ravana. Also, good damage coming, good burst damage early from the Cabrakan. However, they were just trying to guarantee that they secured the speed buff. They don't recognize he has Wrath. That gives them time to get that leap cooldown back up. And then once he kind of like chased them into lane, they turned on him, got him to half very quickly, but jump back up. He had to get away. And then once again, Suntouch going very aggressive at level 4, actually trying to steal away the buff by himself. He dies. But after that, right, it was just great team fighting prowess from him.
Yeah, it was interesting that it was sort of a different strategy, but not a gimmick. They wound up sticking to their old tricks and wound up winning the old-fashioned way. Nice, clean, and secure. Dignitas